not totally live yet, but they can still see this.
Not fully live?
They can still see this. They
I'm
can
not
still
fully
see,
live.
It's alive.
They can still see this. That's better. Okay.
Hello, this is George.
And Bonnie. Lana.
This is Adonai Thanks to Your Truth Classroom. February 24th. February's almost gone.
Gee, Sue. It's amazing.
Last Tuesday of the month. And today we're going to talk about Judges 19.
I did.
Judges 19 is a tragic occurrence of how far the Hebrew nation had fallen. If you put it into perspective with the United States, we as a nation have been doing pretty much the same thing, as far as I'm concerned. Look around you and try to tell anyone that this is a nation of Adonai and his direction any longer. Look at the religions, the churches, the people, and the absolute condemnation of Adonai's words from all, and we mean all religions. Kind of harsh words.
Yeah, true.
Sad, but so true. Today, like back then, people do not want to listen to or for truth. They try to brainwash you into believing a man is really a woman, and should be allowed to play in women's sports. Oh my goodness. A male should have the right to shower with your daughter or granddaughter?
Jeez.
How ignorant can one of the parties in our government be? Society today is worse off than in the most ungodly time in history, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Yet, for too many, far too many pretend it's all right. They may even go to some building called church or synagogue while not walking, but running away from Yeshua and Adonai. For some made-up Catholic Messiah. People, what's changed except the names of the priests brainwashing you today? Nothing. The wolves in sheep clothing are a huge number of false beliefs leading you in their way of damnation. So like I asked before, what's changed? Nothing. That was my little speech before we talked. Now we're going to get into 19 verse 1. My sweetie's going to read it.
And joined us.
And says,
Says, greetings from the bluegrass state.
Bluegrass? You got grass up there? I thought it was snow. Like in Virginia, snow. And like in Illinois, snow. Anyway, go ahead.
19:1. In those days, there was no king in Israel. There was a certain Levi living on the far side of the Ephraim hills, who took a woman from Bethlehem in Judah to be his concubine.
He took this woman to be his concubine, and she was from Bethlehem in Judea. In other words, Bethlehem, in today's language. Before we go any further, what was a concubine? Interesting question. I looked that word up. I looked what word they used for concubine in the Hebrew, and in the Strong's part had no real definition. So I went to the dictionaries we have. Each one had a hint of what they may be. First one said she was a mistress. Another one said a second wife. Another one said, another wife with absolutely no legal status.
Yep.
So then we went to some of the informational writings in some of our Bibles. A woman who had no inheritance rights, it said, with very little privilege of a wife. Her and her children were to work in the estate or to perform household duties. Legally attached to one man. Her main purpose was to provide sexual pleasure. So with all those different definitions, one would conclude she was a legal mistress who at times was called a wife. That was a lot of studying for very little clarity, wasn't it? Yet we see in the rest of Judges 19, she's called the wife, as well as a concubine.
Different meaning for combine.
Yeah, so in the concubine. That part is so interesting, considering what this Levi did with this woman who he calls both wife and concubine. That's a lot of writing and a lot of studying for one verse.
All right.
All right, now read verse 2, please.
But his concubine was unfaithful to him and left him to go to her father's house at Bethlehem in Judah, where she stayed for some time, 4 months.
I want you people to think about this. Now, I don't remember ever reading about a concubine being unfaithful. I am not saying there isn't some writing that at some time that other writings may say she was. We just don't remember one. If you do, that's fine. I don't remember one. Do you, George?
Bad concubine.
I don't remember that ever being said.
And 2 states she was unfaithful and left him. Went to her daddy's house for 4 months. Read number 3, please.
Then her husband went after her to persuade her to return. He had his servant with him and a pair of donkeys. She brought him into her father's house, and when the girl's father saw him, he was glad to meet him.
This Levi, her husband, didn't treat her as his property and demand her return. No, it states to persuade her to return. So, that's kind of interesting, because if you think of a wife or some property, as a concubine might be, he could demand her to return. Interesting wording in that.
Mm-hmm.
There seemed to be very little hostility and more hospitality. Come into my father's house. It states he welcomed this Levi. Glad to meet him. Hello. Well, it's interesting. It sounds like he never
met him before.
met his father-in-law before. All right, read 4, please.
His father-in-law, the girl's father, kept him there. So he remained with him 3 days. They ate, drank, and stayed there.
He stayed with his father-in-law, drinking his wine, eating his food, and sleeping at his father-in-law's house. It's called his father-in-law.
That's weird.
Interesting. Now, her father tries to use his influence to keep them there a little longer, you might say. Read 5 through 9, please.
On the 4th day, they got up early in the morning, and he prepared to leave. But the girl's father said to his son-in-law, "You'll feel better if you have a bite of food before you leave." So the 2 of them sat down and ate and drank together. Then the girl's father said to him, "Please stay 1 more night and have a good time." The man arose to leave, but his father-in-law pressed him, so he stayed there again. The morning of the 5th day, he got up early to leave, but the girl's father said, "Why don't you have something to eat and leave this afternoon?" So the 2 men ate. When the men got up to leave with his concubine and servant, His father-in-law, the girl's father, said to him, "Look, it's almost evening. Please stay the night. You'll see that it's getting late. Stay on, enjoy yourself, and tomorrow get going early on your way home."
Day 4, stay and have something to eat. Please, stay one more night and enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Day 5, up early. Why not have something to eat? Seems like he's trying to get him to eat everything. And leave this afternoon. And they ate. Hey, it's getting late. Stay tonight and leave early tomorrow. And, well, read 10, please.
But the man wouldn't stay that night. So he got up and left with his concubine and his 2 saddled donkeys, and they arrived at also known as Jerusalem.
Nope, not staying another night. We're out of here. Let's go, honey. So off they go towards Yavus. Y-V-U-S is what it was, but which is also known today as Jerusalem. Getting to Yavus, towards evening, his servant says, well, read 11, what his servant said.
By the time they arrived in Yavus, it was nearly evening. And the servant said to his master, "Why don't we go on into this city of the Yursi, whatever, and stay there?"
But listen to what this Levi says to him. Read 12, please.
But his master said to him, "We won't go into the city of foreigners, which doesn't belong to the people of Israel. We'll go on across to Jiva. Did you say 12 and 13?
Just 12.
Okay.
No, we won't stay in a foreign city. Now, did you understand that? Yavus, or Jerusalem is what it's later called. He says, we won't stay in a foreign city. We will go to Gibeah, which, from what we can figure out, it's a Hebrew town about 5 miles from there. Sounds logical, doesn't it? Yet, what are those verses telling us? Yavus, or Jerusalem, wasn't a Hebrew city yet. Then taken that city. And he thought he couldn't trust people in a foreign city. We'll keep going, he says. Read 13 through 15, please.
He said to his servant, "Let's go and we'll get to one of those places. We'll stay in Gival or Ramah." So they went on and kept traveling until the sun set on them near Gival, which belongs to Benjamin. There they turned off the road to go and stay in Gival. He went in and sat down in the city's open space, since no one had offered his home for them to spend the night.
How about Gibeah or Ramah? And by nightfall, they reached a Hebrew city that belonged to one of the tribes named Benjamin. As was the custom of the Hebrews, they would be offered a night's stay at that Hebrew town, but not one invite. Read 16 and 17, please.
In time, at nightfall, an old man came from his work in the field. He was from the Ephraim hills and was staying in Gival, although the residents were of Benjamin. On the page. The old man looked up and saw the travelers in the city's open space and said, "Where are you going, and where are you coming from?"
The old man saw them and asked, "Where did you come from? And why are you at the town square? Where are you going?" Then he explains who he is and where they're going. Read 18, please.
He replied, "We're crossing from Bethlehem in Judah to the far side of the Ephraim hills. That's where I'm from. I went to Bethlehem in Judah, and now I'm going to the house of Adonai. but there's no one here who will let me spend the night in his house.
I'm going to the house of Adonai. Now that part states he was a Hebrew, a Levi, therefore from the Levitical priest line, and maybe even a priest. We don't know. Looking for some Hebrew hospitality. Read 19, please.
We have straw and food for our donkeys, also bread and wine for me, my concubine, and the boy there with your servant. We don't need anything else.
We have all we need except a place to sleep. That's the one thing we're looking for. The old man didn't want them to spend the night in that Hebrew city. Interesting. That goes totally against the Hebrew hospitality, you might say, of what they always treated, how they treated them. Okay, read 20 and 21.
The old man said, "You're welcome to stay with me. I'll take care of anything you lack. Just don't spend the night out in the open." So he brought him home and gave him food for the donkey, and they washed their feet and ate and drank.
Food for the donkey and washed their feet. Had food and they drank. Oh, life was good. Not hungry. Had a few drinks. Animals took care of. What a Hebrew city. Fantastic. Then things started to say, you might say, unravel. Read 22, please.
They were relaxing when suddenly some men from the city, good-for-nothings, I like that, surrounded the house and began beating at the door. "Send out the man who came home with you," they demanded of the old man whose house it was. "We want to have sex with him." Never a good thing.
I like the way they always call them good for nothing.
Good for nothing. I like that.
Send out the man. This Hebrew city was acting, well, like, we'll go to Genesis or Bereshit 19, 4 and 5, please.
But before we could go to bed, the men of the city surrounded the house, young and old, everyone from every neighborhood of Sodom. They called Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to stay with you tonight? Bring them out to us. We want to have sex with them."
Back then, they said, "Send out the man. We want to have sex with them." One a Hebrew city and one not, acting the same way. Now here is something that is supposed to be done when a Hebrew city turns away from Adonai like this city is doing. My sweetie's going to go to Deuteronomy 13, 6 through 19.
Yeah, fine. See.
Your translations may have 5 through 18 or whatever, but
Okay. Okay, it starts out. "And that prophet or dreamer is to be put to death because he urged rebellion against Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the life of slavery, in order to seduce you away from the path Adonai your God ordered you to follow. This is how you are to get rid of the community of this wickedness. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or your wife whom you love, or your friend that means as much to you as yourself, secretly tries to entice you to go and serve other gods, which you haven't known, neither you nor your ancestors, gods of the people surrounding you, whether near or far away from you, anywhere in the world, you are not to consent, and you are not to listen to him, and you must not pity him or spare him, and you may not conceal him. Rather, you must kill him. Your own hand must be the first one on him in putting him to death, and afterwards the hands of all the people. You are to stone him to death, because they have tried to draw you away from Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Then all Israel will hear about it and be afraid, so that they will stop doing such wickedness as this among themselves. If you hear it told that one of your cities, which Adonai your God is giving to you to live in, certain scoundrels have sprung up among you and have drawn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, "Let's go and serve other gods, which you haven't known," Then you are to investigate the matter, inquiring and searching diligently. If the rumor is true, if it is confirmed that such detestable things are being done among you, you must put the inhabitants of that city to death with the sword, destroying it completely with the sword, everything in it, including its livestock. Heap all the spoils on an open space and burn the city with its spoils to the ground for Adonai your God. It will remain a tell forever and not be built again. None of what has been set apart for destruction is to stay in your hands. Then Adonai will turn from his fierce anger and show you mercy, have compassion on you, and increase your numbers as he swore to your ancestors, provided you listen to what Adonai says and obey all his mitzvahs that I am giving you today, thus doing what Adonai your God sees as right.
She read tell. There's a word in the help. Tell. Forever. We looked that up another time in another writing. And the till, T-E-L, is when you have a land or a town or a cemetery or anything, and through the ages, you might say, it's covered up with dirt, dust, sand, and now you have these, what do you call them? They go and dig up the old places.
Oh,
Archaeologists.
Archaeologists.
And archaeologists nowadays dig down and find the buildings that were there, or the wall, or whatever. That's the tell. The tell is a tell, T-E-L in the Hebrew, is the land or the dirt or the overlay of the forgotten or destroyed place. Another time I took a few minutes to study. Okay. Yet here's an example why, you might say, how society turns away from Adonai, his chosen people. They did. And society today will get the same treatment. Whoa, George, what are you talking about? If you don't turn to Adonai, you might as well say you'll get pretty much the same treatment. Maybe not the same exact thing, but you'll get the same treatment. Read 23, please. 1923. Not a year.
The man whose house it was went out and said to them, "No, my brothers, please don't do anything as wrong as this. Look, he is just a guest in my house. Don't do this degrading thing."
Don't do this degrading thing to this man. Please, people, it's going to Adonai's house. He's a Levi, maybe even a priest. It's going against our Hebrew law. The old man got an idea. Read 24, please.
"Here's my daughter, who's a virgin, and his concubine. I'll bring them out, mistreat them, do what you want to them, but don't do such a degrading thing to this man." Thank you very much.
Must have been one heck of a loyalty to the Hebrew men. Those guys want a man, so this is where I wrote, the old man got an idea. Those guys want a man, so I'll offer my daughter, a virgin, and this man's concubine instead. Was he thinking those scoundrels, good for nothing, don't even like women, so if I offer them, maybe they'll just go away. We don't think so. So back then it was like a code of honor to protect your male guests. And I guess that's a good way of putting it. At all costs. This Levi showed Adonai that he wasn't a man of honor. Well, you will notice through all the rest of 19, she is never called his wife again. Only his concubine. The men of the Hebrew city wouldn't listen to this old man. But, read 25, please.
However, the men wouldn't listen to him. So the man took a hold of his concubine and brought her out to them. They raped and abused her all night long. Only at dawn did they let her go.
The man gave the concubine to that mob. Scripture states they not only raped her all night long, they abused her all night, but at dawn they let her abused, raped, hurting body go. When the sun started to come up, she found her way to the man's house. Read 26, please.
At daybreak, the woman came and fell down at the door of the man's house where her husband was, and she was still there when it grew light.
When it was light enough, and maybe even after breakfast, the man left the house. Think of his compassion, or lack of. Read 27, please.
When her husband got up, opened the door to the house, and went out to go his way, he saw the woman lying there, with her hand stretched out toward the door.
He saw the woman he had just went to get. He went after her, and she was reaching for the door this time, and says, read 28, please.
He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. So he loaded her body on the donkey and began his trip home.
Come on, get up. Let's go. He might as well have said, I'm in a hurry. Stop laying around. No answer from her. She was dead. And he didn't show any compassion. It wasn't like some president saying, come to our country and be a prostitute, turn your children loose to be sex slaves. And you know, those young ladies and their young children were treated so nice by the people who abused them. But instead of a party and their leaders, they also didn't hear about the abuse even of the young one. How unhuman was that detestable party practice, also despicable. This humanitarian, well, you might say like today, put her dead body on the donkey and went home. Read 29, please.
On arrival at his house, he got a knife, took hold of his concubine's body, cut her up into 12 pieces, and sent them to all the regions of Israel.
In our opinion, this so-called husband wasn't free from the guilt of her death, as far as I'm concerned. He let all Israel know about it. As far as I'm concerned, he was as guilty as all those hellions. He pretty much knew she was going to be raped by the mom, unless he was a complete idiot. He knew it was going to be multiple times all night, but he would be safe, and he didn't seem to care about her all that much. Then why in the world did he go after her? He cut her up into 12 pieces and sent each of the 12 tribes one piece. All those holier than thou said, read 30.
Everyone who saw it said, from the day the people of Israel came up from Egypt until now, never has such a thing happened or been seen. What are we going to do about it?
Can't you
Talk,
just
get over and decide.
Can't you just hear him? What are we, us holy people, going to do about this? We must take action. Let's talk about it a while. That always decides something.
Let's talk about
And
it.
decide. What they decided is going to come in Judges chapter 20. There's a whole bunch in that book.
In
It's
20?
interesting, yeah. In 19, there was
Well, yes.
you read through 19 and you get the general gist of what happened, but that's about it. There's no real action taking place. And he called her his wife.
For a while.
And he called her his concubine. What a detestable person.
No kidding.
And the old man sent her out to that mom. Because the men are always protected.
Seems that way. Seemed that way.
Seemed that way, doesn't it? That isn't very good. It's a story that you probably have heard many times, or a few times. They don't usually bring it to that kind of detail, though. It's one of those that they usually kind of skim over, give you the general idea, but they really don't hit the nail on the head. Next Tuesday, we'll be here. We'll go over 20. Have a great week. Bye, Ann.